Yesterday I was speaking with Magomed Ankalaev, and he said me that you two guys has all closed all the questions outside the octagon, and he has no problems with shaking your hand. So are you ready to shake his hand after the fight?
Ele falou com o Magomed ontem e ele falou que vocês vão resolver tudo lá dentro do octógono, que depois ele não tem nenhum problema em te cumprimentar, apertar sua mão. Vocês vão apertar a mão depois da luta? Não sei. I don't know.
Alex Pereira is truly the definition of what MMA is, because we saw him lose at Adesanya, we saw him lose to Magomed, and he's as big a star today as he's ever been. I just always wish the best for the guy. He's a tremendous person.
Daniel Cormier's take on the rematch between Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev instantly raised eyebrows. He suggested that the man who falls short in the first meeting often comes back hungrier, more determined, and ready to redeem himself.
Because if he's going to get pushed back, like he got pushed back, he needs to be throwing knees. That's one of the things that some of the best strikers do, that you might get close, but before you get close, you're gonna take some real damage on the entries. Knees to the body, body kicks. He's gotta damage him on the way in if he wants a real opportunity to win this fight. In most cases, the guy that loses is a little more motivated, he's a little more excited.
To Cormier, Pereira fits that mold perfectly, though there is the lingering factor of age. He warned that younger fighters usually have more room to sharpen their craft and close gaps, which could tilt things toward Ankalaev. Still, Cormier admitted that everything pointing to Pereira right now, his focus, his discipline, and his confidence, signals that the best version of him might step into the cage this time. If the fighter fans saw in the first bout was already impressive, Cormier hinted that a sharper, more dangerous version could reclaim the belt.
There were so many questions about Pereira going into that first fight, talking about the stardom, the superstar level. Was he resting on his laurels? It didn't happen for him, right? He didn't win that fight. He could be the more motivated guy, but he is the older guy. They say usually when we have rematches, the younger guy is the one that gets the victory, right? Because he's got more room to improve. But everything that I've seen from Pereira, everything I've heard from Pereira tells me that we will see the best version of who Alex Pereira is. And if you are to be believed, we saw a great version last time. So if he's better than that, there's reason to believe he could potentially be the UFC champion again. But Magomed Ankalaev is not looking to let go of that championship, especially after how long he had to wait to get an opportunity to even fight for that championship, man. This is a big time fight, and I love all the stuff that's now on it with the bad blood and people not liking each other. I love it all.
Robert Whittaker wasn't as sure. Breaking things down in his own way, he found it difficult to paint a convincing path for Pereira to actually win. Whittaker noted that the Brazilian looked hesitant in their first clash, almost holding back instead of seizing the fight. He compared Pereira at his best to a hunter stalking prey, pushing forward and cornering his opponent until there is nowhere left to go. But against Ankalaev, that predator side didn't show because he was forced to fight while moving backward. Whittaker pointed out that whenever Pereira gets trapped in reverse, he loses that aura of inevitability and struggles to land the kind of damage people expect from him.
What would Pereira need to do to have turned around their first fight? He needs to move forward, be less hesitant. I feel like he wasn't leading the dance. Pereira doesn't fight as well going backward as he does going forward, okay?
Yeah.
What made him so dangerous to the guys he knocked out consecutively was the fact that he was just hunting them the whole time. The only time he didn't look like that was when Khalil took it to him in that first round. Granted, it didn't age well, faded away really quick afterwards, but that happened, okay?
Yeah.
So Ankalaev was putting pressure on him, giving him different looks, attempting to take down, whether he was actually seriously going for it or not, but he was making Pereira work, okay? He was creating different looks for him to make him hesitant, not be on the front foot. Pereira's best rounds were later in the fight, okay? I think when he got over that. But like I said, I just find it hard to see where he goes, because what does Pereira need to do? He needs to go forward, he needs to be the hunter, the aggressor, needs to get behind his punches, believe in that, to try and land those hits, to start those impact shots, to change the pace of the fight so that he can lead the dance and start picking him apart. But if he does that, maybe Ankalaev doesn't just attempt 11 takedowns, maybe one of them land.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in that first fight, if Ankalaev would have gotten him down for a round, that looks very different.
Dricus du Plessis took the opposite stance and threw his full support behind Pereira. In his eyes, Pereira only looked off because Ankalaev successfully shut down his forward pressure and forced him to fight defensively. Du Plessis insisted that this won't happen again and that Pereira will return to his forward charging style. He acknowledged Ankalaev's strategy worked in their first meeting, but he strongly doubted the fight would stretch across all 5 rounds this time. According to du Plessis, Pereira is coming into this rematch fresher, more dangerous, and ready to put his power to full use. He even admitted that he'd personally bet on the Brazilian to come through with a statement win.
It's tough. I know Pereira's took a step away for a while, and that's good. I mean, he was too active. I think a lot of people want to see these fighters being active. You know, I like fighters that are active, but it's impressive. That's why I rate Pereira as one of the greatest combat athletes ever walked this. Just the way he's been. You know, he came in with not a lot of experience and just ran through everyone, and the best of the best. But with Ankalaev, he's big, he's strong, and in that first fight, he just had the answers to beat Pereira, and he fought a smart fight. Not necessarily the most exciting style, but he fought a smart fight. Don't give Pereira the distance where he can, catch you with those massive punches. But I mean, I've been looking at the training footage of Pereira for this one. He looks scary. He looks angry, and we'll see what that loss did to him. He has come back from a loss and came back to reclaim the title. But this fight is a big fight for him. But Ankalaev now has that confidence, of course, of being the champion. But I'm going to go Pereira on this one.
Corey Sandhagen wasn't buying into any comeback story. The bantamweight star, who happens to be competing at UFC 320's co-main event, considered Ankalaev a much more complete fighter overall. Sandhagen remembered the first fight as a clear display of dominance from the Russian. He emphasized that Ankalaev not only landed the sharper shots, but also took command of the cage whenever he needed to. He said, "That one's tough. Ankalaev was dominant as hell in the first fight to me, to be honest. Even in the rounds I think Pereira lost, it was still like Ankalaev was in a lot of control. I also really liked, people hated on it, but when Ankalaev went out and pinned him against the cage in the 4th round just to get that round for sure, that was genius strategy play. Ankalaev showed he can do that whenever he wants, it seems like, so he'll always have that option on the table unless Pereira is ready for it. I think Ankalaev will win." Dustin Poirier added a big twist to the conversation. The former interim lightweight champion made it crystal clear that he was all in on Pereira's revenge story. To Poirier, there was no doubt about it. Pereira's knockout power is always the biggest threat in the room, and that's the weapon that could turn the fight around in an instant. He expressed absolute faith that Pereira would come back and finally take down Ankalaev, believing that his destructive punching power would be the difference maker.
Alex needs to keep the distance better, do what got him to be the world superstar we know. Keep the distance and look for those big shots, look for those big knockout punches, look for those big kicks, those big knees, do damage, do what he does best. Similar to the advice I gave Gamrot, don't play the clinch game, don't get put up against the fence, don't let the time run off the clock. And that's what Ankalaev needs to do. I think he needs to smother Pereira. Don't be in the striking danger in the middle of the octagon. Just let him slow down over the rounds so where that power and that pop is a little bit less. You can see things coming a little better. That's what I think needs to happen.
Arman Tsarukyan disagreed with that sentiment and didn't see things changing in the rematch. From his perspective, Ankalaev's variety of skills simply outmatches Pereira. He pointed out how the Russian's crisp left hand and punishing leg kicks disrupted Pereira's balance last time and saw no reason why that wouldn't happen again. For Tsarukyan, Ankalaev's victory in their first fight wasn't surprising at all, and he expected the rematch to unfold in much the same way.
What do you think of the main event, Magomed Ankalaev beating Alex Pereira?
I know that Ankalaev gonna beat him if it's not lucky punch. We know Pereira, he's so dangerous. He has a good left hook and leg kicks. But first round he started with leg kicks, and I was scared again they're gonna kill his legs, and then he gotta change his stand. But then he could change his game. He started to go forward, and he won last, I think, 4 rounds.
So you scored it for Magomed?
3-2. 5 was even 50-50. You never know.
Alexander Volkanovski leaned toward Ankalaev as well, and when he revisited the fight footage, what stood out to him was Ankalaev's ability to switch a style mid-fight. Volkanovski admired how the champion could change stances, adjust distances, and adapt defensively without losing composure. He admitted Pereira still possessed the power to hurt anyone, but argued that Ankalaev's adaptability gave him a huge edge. Looking ahead, Volkanovski predicted the Russian would rely more on wrestling, not necessarily to land takedowns, but to smother Pereira's weapons and keep him in safer positions.
Pereira can still do some great work, but if people are very effective with southpaw, it can make it a little bit harder for Pereira. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't mean that he loses every time he gets southpaw. Just he finds that a little bit harder, especially when you're effective with the southpaw, like Ankalaev will be. So I'm gonna have to go with the favourite on this one. Do you do a parlay with Pereira on that as well? Oh, but okay. So a parlay that you could definitely see happening right now is the 3 underdogs here. So Pereira being there, parlay, you could definitely go there and get some major value in that. I'm picking, if you're just picking on who's going to win this, I think Ankalaev does it again. I think he's going to be more wrestle heavy. Will he get the takedowns? No, but he's safe enough on the feet to just constantly get himself out of danger. He's going to be fit enough. You know what I mean? So when there's danger and if Pereira's doing a great job, he can stick to him a little bit, then get himself back there, get him out of danger, win back that octagon control, do enough to just win 5-round decision. So I'm going to have to go with Ankalaev for the win. Can Pereira get the knockout? 100%. But I think Ankalaev.
Tom Aspinall, the heavyweight champion, saw things from a stylistic point of view. He argued that Pereira had been matched up against opponents in the past who didn't present as many stylistic problems as Ankalaev does. Even though Pereira successfully defended takedowns in their first meeting, Aspinall thought the simple threat of wrestling was enough to throw him off rhythm. In his mind, Ankalaev represents a problematic matchup that Pereira can't easily solve, regardless of how hard he prepares.
There was a lot of talk about him going to heavyweight, but like Adam said, I feel like if he's lost twice in 2 title fights against the same guy, he can only beat other contenders who he's basically already beat. There's not a lot of other, maybe. He beat Yuri Prohaska twice, didn't he? So there's not a lot of guys. Jamal Hill he beat, Khalil Roundtree beat. A lot of the top contenders he's already beat him. So what's he going to do? Just do rematches against guys he's already beat. So 38 years old, he might as well, in my opinion.
Take a shot at heavyweight?
Might as well.
I felt he was an oversized middleweight. He was big compared to all other middleweights. I think as a light heavyweight, I think he's just sized right. So as he's moving up with the bigger boys again, I believe it might just be a wee bit too much for him, and I don't think that power will transfer well. We're already seeing it's not transferred great up against guys like Ankalaev, right? He's had a few knockouts, but as he goes up the higher weights, these guys hit hard and they're looking to slug, whereas I don't think he's in that. He's not wanting that.
On the flip of that, if he wins, I mean, that's an unbelievable victory to get one back over the guy that has beaten him previously.
Definitely. I think he's definitely got a chance. I do think he's definitely got a chance, and I think he might be able to do it. But if you're asking me if I was going to put money on it, I would go Ankalaev.
Chael Sonnen also weighed in, but his critic was more about the matchup itself. He admitted he wasn't thrilled when the UFC first booked the fight, suggesting it only happened because other options ran dry. Sonnen revealed that the promotion initially wanted other names like Alexander Rakic or Khalil Roundtree Jr. to challenge Pereira, but ultimately landed on Ankalaev, and now heading into the rematch, Sonnen doubted fans were desperate to see it play out again. Still, he noted that if Pereira did manage to win, it would almost force the UFC's hand into making a trilogy, since the rivalry would feel unresolved without it.
If he wins, to be positive on the Alex Pereira side, would you drop the belt and go up? Or
no.
No,
they won't let him.
Stick around and fight the winner of Prohaska and Roundtree, or
no, he's not going to be in there with Prohaska again, most likely. Who's awesome, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
But he's just not going to be in there with him again. But therein lies a part of the problem. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I don't know what Ankalaev gets if he wins. He already beat him. Nobody asked for this rematch, including Pereira. Ankalaev asked for it. It was a little bit odd. Ankalaev actually got a little bit nasty, calling, but come fight me. It's like, he just did. What is it that you planned that you're bringing the belt this time? I mean, it really was a little bit of a confusing situation. And then to your point, what happens if he comes and picks it up? Well, the right thing to do would be to go to the trilogy. So now you're telling me we not only got to see him fight Ankalaev again, which we didn't want the first time, we didn't ask for it this time. Now you're telling me we might have to see it for 10 more rounds? I'm just sharing. I think it creates more problems than it solves. That's what I think.
Rashad Evans had a different angle. He saw Pereira entering this rematch with a more ruthless fire in his demeanor. Watching him in training and hearing him in interviews convinced Evans that the Brazilian is tapping into a more savage mindset. In Evans' opinion, fighters who rediscover that primal energy often become their more dangerous selves, and if Pereira embraces it fully, he could walk away with a statement victory.
He showed he's a coward. We'll see. He's hiding now. We'll be in the cage, locked in there, unless he jumps the fence. He's a shitty champion, this guy. Never heard Alex talk like that about any of his opponents.
I love that, Jama. I love that. You know, I've got a chance to see Alex a few times just here and there, and I really like Alex as a person, and I like the fact that you know, he's kind of settled down his life a bit. Just kind of really got dialed in. You know, sometimes success can make you be your own worst enemy, just being so spread out, going here, going there, and you overbook your schedule, and before you know it, you're doing all the other things more than you are actually doing the thing that, you know, that you're making your money from. So I'm glad that he's kind of reconnected to that savage part of himself, because listen, this isn't a nice contest. Yeah, it's great, you can have respect for your opponent, but there has to be that part of you that is just an asshole, to say the least. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be a savage in there, and for him to tap back into that savagery, he's gonna need that. He's gonna need that. So I'm glad that he's feeling that way, and I'm glad that he's not liking him. Shake hands and be friends after the competition.
Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the most respected voices in the sport, focused his attention on Ankalaev. The undefeated legend suggested that the light heavyweight champion already ranks among the greatest Russian fighters of all time and could even become the best to ever come out of the country. Considering Khabib himself is often mentioned as the top Russian fighter in UFC history, his praise carried weight. Khabib highlighted how Ankalaev's patient and methodical style propelled him to the belt, even without relying on flashy knockouts or trash talk. Now, defending against Pereira again, Ankalaev has the chance to further cement his place at the top.
He is one of the best to ever beat in Russia already. He is keeping going for himself. He's climbing on top to be the best to ever do this. No, I really believe he has skills.
Dan Hardy also brought strategy into the discussion. He argued that Pereira gave Ankalaev too much respect the first time, reacting instead of initiating. Hardy emphasized that Pereira's true power only shines when he's aggressive, pressing forward and forcing opponents backward. If he comes into this fight with that mentality, Hardy believes the outcome could look very different from their first encounter.
What do you think that Alex Pereira needs to do this time around to get his hand raised and win that title back?
I think he needs to close the range down a little bit. You know, I think maybe he had a little bit too much respect for Ankalaev in the last fight. I also think he wasn't quite sure which hand Ankalaev was going to play. You know, and Ankalaev is very, very confident as a striker. His wrestling's always been a backup in his game, and he's never particularly wanted to use it too much. But just the idea of it being there, the threat, I don't know, it seemed to make Pereira just kind of hesitate a little bit too much. And Pereira, when he's at that close range, either when you're coming to him, like when Strickland fought him, Strickland was walking into his range, or when someone's moving away and he's walking into their range, like Jamal Hill, it's that, like, you feel that pressure of his kind of frame coming at you, and people feel like they need to react. And what I love about it, there's really good videos of him training online where he slips offline and counters with power punches, and the slip of the punch loads the power punch to come back. So his ability at close range to not only kind of bear over people and make them anxious, but also to pressure them to throw, in which case he feeds off it and works with counters. Like, if I'm Pereira, I would be thinking about getting as close to him as possible, getting in his face, maybe even try and use a bit of tie clinch just to kind of, you know, manage the clinch a bit. But I would also think that he's going to be better defending takedowns on the front foot as well, right? You know, better if he's pressuring forward and forcing Ankalaev to shoot under pressure. That would be my thought process, but I don't know. I mean, we might see a very different Ankalaev this time around, you know, and that's also something that Pereira's got to adapt to in that first round.
Zhang Mingyang wasn't convinced Pereira could pull it off. He questioned whether the Brazilian still carries the same hunger that fueled his rise. Comparing him to Conor McGregor, Zhang suggested that fame and fortune can sometimes dull the sharpness that makes fighters truly dangerous. To him, Pereira might already be past that stage of burning desire, while Ankalaev still thrives of discipline and drive.
Who do you think wins that fight? What's your prediction for the title fight?
Yeah, I think still Ankalaev can defend his title, because I think Pereira is not as motivated as before. So I mean, if we can get the old Pereira back, he's still the, let's say, the better striker than Ankalaev. But for now, if he still fought like the way like he fought last fight, I think Ankalaev can still win this fight.
Why do you think there's a lack of motivation there, in your opinion?
Because he has earned too much money. He's too rich. I think it's no matter who you are, as a fighter or as a human being, if you are too rich, you are just like a kind of lack of motivation, as when you are young, when you are poor, when you are hungry. I think that's normal.
Altogether, the voices from across the fight world painted a fascinating picture of the upcoming rematch. One side sees Pereira as a reborn predator ready to pounce, the other sees Ankalaev as a disciplined champion who already solved the puzzle once and can do it again. With so many sharp minds split on the outcome, UFC 320 promises a showdown where every second feels unpredictable and only one man will walk away proving the debate right.